Today is my mowing day. And you guys have had a lot of questions about the self-storage business, and I figured that I would address those questions today, tell you guys about my experience with self-storage over the past few years. Hopefully you guys like it. If you do, subscribe, turn your notifications on, and let me know in the comments if you guys want more content on other side hustles. See you guys at the building. We're here at the storage building. But first I want to show you guys a little bit of a before and after whenever I acquired the business, what it looked like and what it looks like now. Obviously, the color of the building is one of the biggest differences since I purchased it. The back was pretty much a jungle. You couldn't even see the building beside me. I had a lot of help that I'm very thankful for. We got all that cleared out. I brought in some limestone, had a couple driveways cut, retaining wall built, new signage, building painted. The place is looking a whole heck of a lot better. Still has some work to do, but for now I'm happy with the way that the place looks. After all, this was kind of my first business endeavor, especially whenever it comes to real estate. So I wanted it to be mine and look like mine and, take more pride in it. So obviously this place isn't the same as it was whenever I acquired it. A little bit of backstory on how I did acquire the business. Obviously it hit the market at one point in time, and it wasn't a good point in time for the economy. It was right before the pandemic, and then kind of carried on through the pandemic. Places like these don't come up on the market very often, especially for the price that this one was listed at. I had advice from mentors telling me to, save my money, offer low. We don't know what's going to happen with the economy. So I did that. I placed an offer that was probably lower than market value for this place, and I wasn't the one with the highest bid, and therefore I didn't get the property. Now, as soon as the whole deal fell through, I got that pit in my stomach where I could feel like I missed a great opportunity. And if you've ever had that feeling, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I felt like I missed out. I felt like I was beat. I felt like an opportunity like this wouldn't come up again, if not, in the near future, definitely not. And I was right. I've watched the market super closely for the past 3 years since I've owned this property, and there haven't been opportunities like this come about. So I'm glad that I did end up closing the deal and making it work. The history on that is this property sold, and the people who acquired it were used to single family homes and rentals like that. They realized that this wasn't really their cup of tea, and they wanted to get out from underneath of it. So before it hit the market again, I made a deal with them. Thankfully, we made everything work. They made it pretty seamless. As far as all that goes, it really wasn't as complicated as what I thought it was going to be. Whenever you see something like this that you're interested in and you're pursuing real estate from a business standpoint, really all you need to do is, your research, obviously, find out what you're interested in, what your niche is going to be, and how you can be successful doing that. But then you need to create an LLC. Super simple. All I had to do was hop on the Secretary of State website, apply for the LLC, search your name, make sure that name's available for your business, pay the fee, wait on the application to be accepted, and then boom, you have a business. They'll give you your EIN number, all that good stuff. Then, you go to the bank. Once you have your funds, you can get pre-approved for a certain amount, and you're going to talk to a commercial lender about your loan term. Now, most commercial loans are going to be 15 years. Of course, you can finance something with a shorter term. In my case, I got a 15-year loan, and the interest rates for commercial loans are typically higher than they are for, your standard mortgage. The bank is assuming more risk because you're assuming more risk. Typically, commercial properties are more expensive. The bank's going to loan more money, and they want to make sure that they're going to get their money back. If the property's not making money, they're not going to lend you that money. And if they do, they're going to make you pay for it with the interest rate. Now, from what I understand, which I'm pretty fresh in the business world also, but from what I understand, it's really hard to get a fixed rate in a commercial loan. You would have to have a ton of history with a bank, a ton of cash flow and proof of that income to be able to even lock in a partial fixed rate. I was able to get 5 years of my rate fixed at what's a relatively low interest rate. That's actually going to go variable in a year. So after the first 5 years, it'll go variable for the last 10. I have the option to, relock in. I can pay it down. I can let it go variable. That's a whole other story. But whenever I did negotiate those interest rates, it helped me to have, number one, a large down payment. It also helped me to have experience with this type of business. And commercial lenders actually do have the ability to negotiate interest rates a little bit. It's not like going in for a conventional mortgage loan where, the Fed determines the rates and there's not much that the lender can do. Your credit score doesn't even really matter with a conventional mortgage anymore, which is crazy to me. So I negotiated the rates. I created my LLC, got my business ready to go. I was able to see the tax returns and the rent roll from the previous owner. I knew what the units were rented for at that current time. And after all, was already an existing business. So there wasn't a whole lot of risk for me. I really just needed to crunch my numbers, crunch the rates on the rent, and see exactly what my mortgage was going to be each month, what my cost to run the place was going to be each month, and how I could cash flow month to month to recoup my initial investment, my down payment, and then at the end of 15 years have a debt-free cash flowing asset. So the title company and the realtor made this super seamless. The whole transition was not a terrible process at all whatsoever, even though it already was an existing business. That honestly might have helped me even more. Having it be established already, I already had tenants that were in here. I was able to acquire new ones very easily. During this transition, I had to create, a business bank account with my LLC on it. You have to have a certain amount of funds in that bank account to start it, and you have to maintain that amount of funds, during the life of the account. There was also a PO box already in the same city that the building is in, so we transferred that over to me as well. That way I could take payments, whether that be cash, check, money order. I had to, get up to date with the tenants that were already in here to weed out the other payment options that they had that I didn't want to take. Let them know that ownership changed and what we were going to do moving forward as far as payments go. I did have to acquire insurance. Insurance on buildings like these is a little bit trickier, but there are plenty of insurance companies that specialize in buildings like these. So shop around, do your research. And that's my advice for that, for any type of business. I had to research the utilities, get those switched over to me as well. Really, there aren't any utilities on this property. I don't have electric, I don't have water, I don't have gas, anything like that. The only thing that I pay month to month as far as utilities go is wastewater. I know it sounds crazy, but where I'm from, you do pay for the water to run off the roof. Every property in town, I guess, has a wastewater bill, whether you have utilities or not. It's super cheap. I think I pay like $6 a month for wastewater, so not enough to make a huge fuss over, although it is kind of silly in my opinion. And then we had to transfer the Google business over to me. This is where you access Google My Business, and I think Google has helped me out tremendously over the course of the last few years. Google searches are super hot for me. People are calling me every week, and that part kind of sucks because I don't have any units to rent to them. I stay pretty full 100% of the time. Currently 100% full right now, which is great for a business like this. You can normally expect to operate at about 80% capacity or so, and that's whenever the economy is pretty strong. I've been blessed to be able to operate at 100% almost the entire time that I've owned the place. These units turn over pretty quickly. I do my diligence to make sure that they stay rented out to good tenants, and I'm super thankful for that. My day-to-day operations are pretty simple. One piece of advice that the last owner gave me was answer the phone, and she wasn't wrong. I mean, if you answer the phone, you're going to talk to future customers, whether you have something available or not. If you pick up the phone, you're going to get the units rented out, especially whenever you have a great Google presence like I do. Other than that, I meet the tenants here. I talk to them about the units. I show them their unit, have them sign a lease, and move them in. After that, there's not a lot of personal contact with me. Most of my work is done over the phone. I'm contacting people that are late on their payments, making sure that I get those payments in, making sure that renters don't fall too far behind on their payments and they can't get caught up. I'll send out mass texts, once the due date is passed, reminding renters that rent is due or it's overdue and what they owe. If I do get way behind on somebody, typically the process is give them a notice. After 30 days, you lock their unit. After another 30 days, they've got their certified letter. They have 30 days to get out. If they don't, then the lock can be removed along with their contents, and then the unit can be turned over to the next person. You definitely have to cover your bases legally, but if you do, it's a pretty easy process to go through. So yes, I have cut locks. I have had to remove a lot of contents from this place. I've had a lot of questions like, what have you found in there? Any treasures, this or that? And to be honest with you, I haven't had a bunch of items that are worth keeping or even going through for that matter. It's more beneficial for me just to get into the unit, get them cleaned out, move on to the next person, and start collecting rent month to month on that unit. The quicker I get them turned over, the quicker I'm making money on that unit. Other than that, I'm showing up here every week. I'm mowing, I'm taking care of the landscaping, just, driving around, making sure everything looks good. Trash is picked up. I don't have any issues with anything. Worst case scenario, if you don't have any major problems, you may have a spring break, which I've had help fixing in the past. Other than door maintenance and landscaping and whatnot, there's really not a ton of maintenance that needs to be done on a daily basis. Really, you just have to put the time and a little bit of footwork in to take care of the property, keep it presentable. And other than that, it's pretty passive. As far as expenses go, I just have basic maintenance costs, whether that be my mowers, the gas to go in my mowers, the fuel to get here to the property, wastewater, which we talked about. I pay that monthly. Obviously, there's property taxes, there's sales tax to be covered. Advertising is one of those things where I really don't have a need to do. I don't need to pay for advertising out of pocket, but I do it anyways because most of the time the advertising that I participate in is some sort of fundraising. I'm trying to help out like youth sports in my community. So I've donated for signage at like the Babe Ruth field, things like that that are going to benefit me, but also benefit the community. I do pay monthly for security. I've got cameras here. It's an easier way for me to monitor the property without having to be here. And really, I think my greatest expense is probably time. Although I don't put a ton of time into this daily, there is a lot of keeping up on things, whether that be payments, spreadsheets, my books, coming down here and mowing, cleaning up, making the property look more presentable, answering the phone, talking to tenants, going to the post office, sending those notices, tracking expenses for tax purposes. It does take a lot of time. I don't want to say that it's all rainbows and butterflies. There's days that are like totally ruined that I have to come down here and clean out units that are packed floor to ceiling with trash or just throwaways. I've had times where I've had to rent a U-Haul and get a couple buddies to help me clear out these units. And it does take a lot of time, and some of it is unexpected. That's kind of the price you pay for doing business. I don't really want to get into income too much, not because it's personal to me. I'm an open book. I don't care to share. But it's different from area to area. And I don't even mean that just like state to state. I mean like urban and rural. If you're in more of a rural community, there's not a lot of people, they don't have a lot of things, you're not going to be able to fetch as high of a rent rate as you would in a big city. Now, I'm in central Ohio, and there's places near me that are pretty competitive with pricing. There's places near me that are a lot higher on pricing. I do like where I'm at right now. I'm staying full, and I feel like my prices are pretty competitive. As far as the income goes, you really just have to do your own research. It's as simple as picking up the phone and calling facilities near you. You can comp rates with any of the buildings nearby. As far as that goes, you can pretty much tell the size of the units based on their advertisement or based on looking at the doors. It's not hard to count the doors on a building and see how many units they have and guess what size they are. You can do quick math and see how much a facility like this could gross. And if you do enough research, you should be able to come up with a general idea of what your expenses may be to operate the business. And your whole goal should be and can be to earn passive income during your loan term, but then at the end of that loan term, have a debt-free cash flowing asset. If you finance it right, it's possible. If you do your research and crunch your numbers correctly, it's possible. I'm glad that I made this work and made this deal happen. I'll never forget that feeling in my stomach whenever this property was sold and I found out that I wasn't the one who was going to own it. I'm so glad that it fell into my hands and that I've been able to learn about this business within the last 3 years. This is my 4th year of owning the property, and I'm ready to expand. It's just hard to find another opportunity to expand into. If I had to do it all over again, I would do it exactly the same as I did. I know that that won't always be the case, but I'm just super thankful that that is the case in this scenario. If you guys have any more questions about self-storage or other side hustles for that matter, about the business in general, drop those in the comments below. As always, you can hit up my DMs on Instagram. The handle is the same, at AllABSneakers. If you're wondering what this video even had to do with sneakers in the first place, the channel is all about sneakers. This business may have nothing to do with sneakers, but it was definitely funded by sneakers. I've been reselling for over 10 years now, and something like this would have never been possible if I hadn't been flipping sneakers in the past. I've been working full time and acquiring side hustles to be able to start and expand a business of my own. And if you take a look back at some of the videos that I've done in the past with my big cash outs, it's deals like those that fund projects like these. So if that question comes to your mind, how do I even get the capital to be able to start something like this? My answer is going to be hustle. Find some sort of hustle that can get you funds outside of your 9 to 5 so that you can chase your dreams, become a business owner, become financially free. None of this would have been possible hadn't I been in the shoe game, been reselling, and had a drive to just do something else with my life. Enough preaching. If you have questions, drop them in the comments below. Hit me up on IG. I appreciate you guys for watching, and do not forget, this is all about sneakers.